just go right into it, guys. I think we're starting with Toni Braxton, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are. Toni Braxton's Secrets. And in the opening montage, you heard Unbreak My Heart. And now you're going to hear You're Making Me High. Matt, what are the stats on Toni Braxton?
Toni Braxton's Secrets comes in at number 3,955 in the 1990s on Best Ever Albums, number 495 in 1996, number 24,779 of all time. It's Toni Braxton's third highest rated album on Best Ever Albums, behind 2000's The Heat and 1993's self-titled Toni Braxton. Secrets did not make Rolling Stone's list, and Toni Braxton is ranked number 4,422 of overall artists on Best Ever Albums.
Yeah, this album came out June 18th, 1996, and we covered Toni Braxton's single from her debut album, Another Sad Love Song, on bonus 11 of this season, so check that out. She was born in Severn, Maryland, October 7th, 1996. You know where
Severn, Maryland.
Okay.
Yep, PG County.
It's Anne Arundel County, actually.
You're right. It's on the border. You're right. It's right on the border of PG and Anne Arundel. You're right.
You mean Anna Grundle?
Yes. I immediately recognized after I said that, Josh. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I think it is Anne Arundel. Yeah.
So for folks that aren't, it's just kind of south of, it's between Baltimore and DC, kind of that area of Maryland. She has 10 studio albums. This is her second. Her most recent album was Spell My Name from 2020, which I think is a funny title. Good name. Genres, just R&B. That's all she is. Influences, well, she credits her religious upbringing as an influence. She sang in the church. Her dad was a Methodist clergyman, and her mom was also a pastor and a former opera singer. And other influences are Anita Baker, Gladys Knight, Diana Ross, Janet Jackson, and Sade. Similar artists, Mariah Carey, Alicia Keys, Vanessa Williams, Monica. You're Making Me High and Unbreak My Heart were both number ones on the Hot 100. Unbreak My Heart was number one for 11 weeks on the charts, and her first album that was self-titled was number one for 2 weeks, and this album reached 2 on the Billboard 200. Fun fact, she's the oldest of 6 siblings. You may have heard of the reality show Braxton Family Values. That was her and her sisters her family from 2011 to 2020. It was on TV, which is crazy. I didn't realize it was on that long. She and her 4 sisters first performed as the Braxtons in the late 80s as a group and were signed to Arista before she became a solo artist. That group attracted the attention of L.A. Reid and Babyface, and they had her record a song that they had originally had for Anita Baker, but Baker said she didn't want to sing it because she was pregnant and was not interested, and so Love Should Have Brought You Home was given to Toni Braxton, and it ended up on the Boomerang soundtrack, along with another song that she sang for that. This album was a massive hit. This one and her debut album were big hits. This was 92 weeks on the charts. It was 8 times platinum and has now sold over 15 million copies. She won 2 Grammys for Best Female Pop Vocal Performance for Unbreak My Heart. I should say Unbreak My Heart was written by Diane Warren, who's wrote songs for Celine Dion last week and actually continues to write songs. She was nominated again in the Oscars this year and didn't win. And Toni Braxton also won Best Female R&B Vocal Performance for You're Making Me High. So it's interesting that one was pop and one was R&B and at that Grammys. What else? Kenny G appears on the 6th track, How Could an Angel Break My Heart? She appeared as Belle in the Broadway version of Beauty and the Beast in 1998, and that was the only time a Black woman has appeared in that role on Broadway. She had a Las Vegas residency from 2006 to 2008, replacing Wayne Newton, famous Broadway Las Vegas person. She has a contralto voice, which is kind of unusual for a female singer. And what else? She was diagnosed with lupus in 2010, so that's always now been a kind of on-again, off-again struggle for her. L.A. Reid called her the first lady of LaFace Records, and she dated the rapper Birdman from 2016 to 2022, which I thought was hilarious. And that's what I've got in a nutshell. So let's start with Matt. What did you think of Secrets?
Ooh, good job, Josh. Yeah. I mean, when I first heard this, I was like, listen to the record. It's like, yeah, this sounds like Babyface, like all over the. And then I'm just looking at her. It's like, yep, he like wrote pretty much, produced, and almost every song on this, or most of the songs on this. So I knew, obviously I knew the singles. I forgot how good "You're Making Me High" is. I mean, that to me is easily the best song on this record. That's the groove on that, the beat on that is just, it just hits you right away. It's super catchy. The production's great. And that was like the high of the album is "You're Making Me High." And I wish there was more stuff like that on this. Toni Braxton has a great voice, of course. And I think the production it's got a very crisp production. But the overall vibe I get from this is kind of like adult contemporary, safe, if you will, R&B, right? Kenny G was like, I'm like, well, there's an alto saxophone on here, so that's got to be Kenny G, and he fits right in with the vibe of this record. And I think that there's some parts of it that I was okay with, like "Let It Flow." I thought that the kind of the places where they have the guitar in there, I think that that's kind of interesting. Maybe is it "There's No Me Without You," I think has guitar as well. But for the most part, this album kind of dragged for me. It's very low key. It's very ballad heavy, and I think I would have enjoyed more songs that had a little bit more of a groove, a little bit more upbeat, peppered in. Again, I really am struggling with connecting with some of these R&B records that are either predominantly ballad based or like ballad after ballad after ballad after ballad. And I know that's what the intention of a lot of these records are, and that's what they're trying to do. It's just not something that connects with me. I'm not totally against R&B ballads. I think there's some super, ones that are really pretty and they have their place for sure. But I need something to kind of like keep me interested throughout the record. And unfortunately, I didn't really find that happening here. So overall, it didn't do a whole lot for me. I don't know if this Babyface production style, I don't know. I mean, we've done some of his stuff, and clearly he's done a ton more. So I don't want to just say this is all that he does. I mean, he wrote "You're Making Me High," right? So like he can do the stuff that I really like. It's just when the focus is more on the ballads and the slower songs, especially when it's. Yeah, adult contemporary was just kind of like the vibe that I was getting here, and it just didn't really stick with me. So, like I said, she's clearly talented. I think like "Unbreak My Heart's" a really interesting song too, because it's like the way that her voice, it's a heavy song, right? It's like you can hear the sadness and feel the sadness coming out in her voice there. It's a really. And in some ways, it's kind of unsettling to hear her voice go that low and like that deep and dark. But I find that it's interesting, right? It's not something that contralto, kind of vocal pitch that she's got there. It really emphasizes the sadness of that song. So I thought that was certainly commendable, really impressive on her part. But yeah, again, this is a harder genre for me to get down to. Certainly is if it's mostly ballads. But God, "You're Making Me High." That's a eternal jamma for me. That's just a freaking great song. I wish she had more of that on this. So I'm gonna go overall. It's just kind of a thumbs down for me. But I am biased because it's a high barrier of entry for me. So yeah.
Well, there's the Bloods and the Crips, the Stones and Beatles argument and stuff, and then there's the constant Matt can't listen to slow R&B, and I like slow R&B, and I don't process R&B as generic. It is kind of funny. I think it's like the yin and the yang of this is, for Matt, that post-rock that he has a nostalgia for, like hits his ears as a pleasing sound, and to me it is a tedious sound at times in many instances. And then this sort of adult contemporary's fair. I think. And there even is an argument to be made that Toni Braxton in some ways functions the same way that like Anita Baker did in the 80s, like Josh brought up, right? Like that was a reference point, because this is tied into like church music, right? And like love songs. All I could think of, I mean, obviously Unbreak My Heart's like an amazing song. And all I could think of is like, I usually hate Diane Warren songs. And I've said oftentimes that like Celine Dion gets no emotional connection with me at all with like those songs. Yeah. And I'm like, boy, what a difference the singer makes, because Unbreak My Heart is like this gutting song that like just...
Yeah, Celine Dion would not sing it like that, for sure.
Every time I hear it, it like puts you into the headspace of someone who like would lose someone tragically. And I just remember the video is fucking fantastic. It's like Tyson Beckford, right? And he dies in a motorcycle accident, and Toni Braxton is looking like gorgeous in the video, and she's like crying in the shower and like in the hallway, and then it ends with her in this like concert hall in this like amazing white dress, and you're just like, my God, this is like such a sexy woman, right? It's such a sad song, and it's like all the things, right? Like there's just a like presence with Toni Braxton, like her look, that she's tiny, but she has the stage. She could sing the hell out of a ballad because she has that really sexy, smoky, deep contralto voice, right? That you immediately recognize her voice, and it just adds a layer to like all of these romantic songs. There's just something about that lower register that just... you just feel it, for me at least. You feel it in like a different level. And so this album's peppered with like really great ballads across. I mean, everybody knows Unbreak My Heart, but you've got like Let It Flow, which I believe is from Waiting to Exhale, if I remember correctly. I definitely remember that, like in that movie.
Oh yeah, it said that actually on the track listing in Spotify.
Oh,
it's like, from Waiting to Exhale. I'm like, did you need to say that? But I confirmed that, so there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I always the Kenny G song. I know Kenny G has like a rep, right, of being stuff, but like he absolutely complements her style very well on that. I've always liked How Could an Angel Break My Heart. Late at the End, I Love Me Some Him is another really great ballad along the way. Yeah, this is like an adult contemporary thing where you just want to hear a singer sing songs. It's the equivalent of like 50s and 60s standards albums, where you're listening to people with the primary draw, right? Is you're listening to someone sing love songs in different voices, right? And what you're really connecting with is the sound of the voice and the emotion that the love song gives you, which is really at the end of the day, right? It's what a standard is. It's not all that different than the people that like connect with like Frank Sinatra, right? Like they connect with sort of like the vibe, right, of like what he is. Or, you know, if you go to like the jazz era, you know, stuff like Ella Fitzgerald and stuff, that's the beginning. And then in the 60s, the stuff like Etta James and, you know, Roberta Flack and Nina Simone, right? Like they're just, I don't think, Matt, for me, I like, it's all about like someone singing the song with conviction. And you know how sometimes you will say, I don't really care about the lyrics. I care about like how it sounds, right? The music, right? Like that to me is a little bit of what R&B is at its core. It's like what I want to hear out of R&B is I want to sing someone with a really notable voice that hits me in my innards, sing a love song in a way that I feel. And like when I listen to like I Love You Always Forever, right? And then like stuff on this, I'm like, this is the difference, right? Like it's like
fair.
Can Toni Braxton speak like I hear Toni Braxton's voice and I get all the feelings, right? Like I get it, like what it would be. It's so funny. I thought to myself, I'm like, I get the feeling of like what it would be like for her to be in this relationship. Like I can imagine what it would be like to like be looking at the relationship on the outside. You even get the idea of like what it would be like to be in a relationship with this person or someone like them, right? Because you're just like the feelings I'm feeling. Like what if, you know, I were in a relationship that had, you know, this type of passion, you know, and that's what a great R&B singer does, right? Is it like puts you into, it allows you to score your own experiences or potential experiences, past experiences, right? And give it gravitas. And I thought this album did a really good job of it. But at the end of the day, this lane of music, this adult contemporary or pure R&B, is just like, do I enjoy hearing your voice? And Toni Braxton has a a great voice that is sexy. It's got layers to it. And it has just always hit me. I come by it honestly, though, too, because like Toni Braxton's in like the top 3 singers for my mom. My mom has a deep affection for like Toni Braxton and like her voice. She's just like, I was actually at their house this weekend and I said, I said, this is an interesting week, Mom. I think there's going to be some folks that I know you like historically, and I'm playing them. And I was playing some of the Toni Braxton tracks, and she immediately was like, oh, man, Toni Braxton. I love everything she does kind of along the way. Yeah. So it's just sort of there. And, so for me, in terms of what it is, it's not that I think you're wrong or anything, Matt. I get it. But, like, for me, in this genre of music, this is a comfortable thumbs up.
Yeah, for me, like, Toni... to contrast with Celine Dion, Toni Braxton's voice, like you were saying, John and Matt, like, is like the X factor, and like that's really what carries me through this album. She's such like a phenomenal singer, and she is able to convey everything through what she's singing. That this is kind of like the best example of like adult contemporary R&B that you can get that works because of her, like solely because of her, basically. Despite what you may think of like the content of the songs, her talent is enough for me on this album to make me enjoy it. You guys, Unbreak My Heart and You're Making Me High, I agree, both phenomenal songs. Those were fun to re-listen because I remember them being played all of the time, but I hadn't heard them in a long time.
Yeah.
So that was a fun experience. A deeper cut that I liked was I Don't Want To. That's kind of just, I don't know, she's got some good vibe songs on here too. And
that's an R. Kelly song, Josh.
Well, you mean
he wrote it? I mean, he wrote it. Yeah, he wrote it and produced it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's
I think
really
cool. Well, I think we're also of the thing that like R. Kelly was a monster, but the fucking man knew how to write an R.
No, I wasn't bringing that up to be like, Josh, you should take that back. It was just like, it's the one R. Kelly song on here. And yeah, the guy he's quite a talented musician, I would say.
Yeah, I like the opening track too, Come On Over Here. I mean, I think she peppers in a lot of different, not just Babyface, but like, I think Tony Rich is on the first track too.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so she's bringing in other people that kind of like amplify her catalog or album variety. And I hear what you're saying, Matt, about the songs and the kind of the ballady nature and the themes and stuff. And I don't know, again, like it didn't bother me this week with this album just because of Toni Braxton's talent. That's ultimately like my main takeaway of this. That I didn't even mind like the Kenny G sax. I thought that was perfectly appropriate for that song.
Yeah.
And she, it complements Toni Braxton too. So I don't know, like Let It Flow is cool. That's like a nice chill song as well. And Toni Braxton just like, she's like a siren. She just like wins me over. So it's like a.
Would you agree with me, Josh, that like really at the end of the day, R&B is like, do you enjoy hearing this person sing? Would you say for you it's a little bit of that, or no? Is it different?
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah. I think to Matt's point though, I would like I think I do still respond to the more like up tempo type of songs and kind of the like sexier songs too. I think kind of the chaste love songs they'd have to be kind of exceptional to win me over on that front. But this is a good album.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it, John, because as you're talking about that, like I'm thinking, yes, I agree with everything you're saying about her voice, about how about the difference between someone like her singing this and like a Celine Dion song that might be written by the same person, or the Diane Lewis song that we just Donna Lewis, song that we just did, right? So there's differences there, and she's clearly super talented and has a great voice, but I think I need more than that, though. Like the voice is, just because she's got a good voice is not. I haven't really thought of it like this, but I think I'm looking at it as a whole more so. I think in general that's what I'm doing with a lot of music that I listen to, and it's I guess it's fair for me to say that's not enough for it to carry over for me. The emotion, the way that she's conveying some of these messages, or the passion, or just the great nature of her voice is in and of itself is not enough to, or anybody else doing R&B. Like I need the music behind it to be interesting enough, or have a groove enough, or do something a little bit more, I don't know, melodic, or well, not that this isn't melodic, but just something that connects with me a little bit more. And I guess that this, I can say that I think I need more than that.
But As Yet, that you didn't like either, was definitely groovy. Right,
yes.
That had like a full groove in the background.
Yeah, that was groovier. Yeah, I didn't
maybe
dislike that song. I just wasn't, it didn't move me as much as others.
I just thought of this, Matt. Like maybe to your point, like it's just because R&B is like so singer focused, like they're front and center. Like the music is secondary in a way to that, versus like rock and stuff has like so many instruments and like different things, and you can. There seems like a lot more variety, or at least like sounds, versus like R&B is still like the singer that you have to like focus on, and like so maybe that's why too. Like it's just like it's a different genre. So like,
yeah. Or if I grew up like being, this is like kind of my thing, I mean, we're products of our environment to an extent. John, you were exposed to this a heck of a lot more. It was more of a peripheral kind of genre for me. There wasn't like, my family wasn't listening to this. My friends weren't listening to this. Yeah. It was something that was kind of spoon fed a little bit here and there on, MTV, or just, other
adults
people
not listening to this in your life.
No,
because
okay,
interesting. Because like Toni Braxton definitely crossed over like to the suburban moms where I lived. You know what I mean? Like she was like in the same. If you bought the Celine Dion album, there was a good chance you could have also bought the Toni Braxton album.
Nah, not that I recall. And actually, it's actually I grew up around a lot of Nashville country. And I didn't like that either. So it's not like just because I grew up around it, I kind of, I gravitated more to what my family, like my uncles and my brother, were kind of listening to. And then by extension, friends, that when we started really getting into music, but which was much more alt rock, than R&B. So yeah, that's just kind of how it just, how you are exposed to stuff, and, yeah.